All right, Doom Vivamos Vivamos Epicureans. This is the BCE Comics Pod one-shot edition. I'm your host, Nick Smith, and I'm joined by...
Stojr from Stojr Shelf. How's it going, Nick?
I'm good. I'm ready to tackle this one a second time because we tried to record it and the computer crashed. But here we go. This one's going to work. We are participating in Kurtis Findlay's Epic Marvel Podcast Reading Club, and this one-shot is going to be our brief thoughts on today's issue, which is Kitty Pryde and Wolverine Limited Series number 1, Lies. Written by Chris Claremont and art by Alan Milgram. So not just Al, but we're getting formal here with Alan. All right, so Kitty is in Chicago with her father, who appears to be in trouble with a group of Japanese thugs who bought his bank. Mr. Pryde has thus been called to Japan, so he sends Kitty back to Xavier's school. Except Kitty decides to instead sneak on a plane and follow her father to Tokyo. Kitty failed to make a plan for this trip, however, and does not have any place to stay, nor any food or money. So she attempts to steal money from an ATM, and that gets her in trouble with the law. So out of desperation, Kitty calls the X-Men, collect, and then hangs up in shame when Wolverine answers the phone. We end with with Kitty finding her father and learning that he has in fact is going to help an illicit group launder money through his bank. All right, Stojr, what are your thoughts?
So, I first I want to point out the art is just not for me. It's maybe a bit simplistic, and for this issue where it's just kind of Kitty running around for the 99.9% of it, I don't bump into it as much as I do in some of the future issues where they have Wolverine and others in the book. After a while, I settled into it, but it's not my favorite version of the art here, and not on par with some of the other things that we've seen in the X books up until now. So, in my opinion, so no disrespect to the artist, but not my favorite. I kind of like the plot here. It kind of fits in with a lot of 80s, movies or stereotypes and of, Japanese businessmen kind of, working their way in. You get the mob angle, which is more of a Yakuza angle here. So all that kind of fits with a lot of things that would have been, in pop culture at the time, would have been at movies at the time. And I like the idea that kind of draws, Kitty into this sort of adventure on her own. While she's, not making the smartest choices, she's not completely screwing things up either along the way. She's trying to use her powers in different ways. She's trying to get out there. She's just not succeeding. But, if I was 14, 15 years old, I'd probably be screwing up this in the same way too. I would say, though, that, if I bought this issue back then off the newsstands, I'd be pretty pissed off that Wolverine's only in there for like a tenth of a second, because he's on the cover and he's really not in this issue at all. Back then we would make collect calls to get picked up from somewhere because we didn't have cell phones, and they'd say, "Who's calling?" On the line, and the answer would be, "I'm ready, come pick me up." And then they would just refuse the charges and not go through with the call. That's how we would leave voicemails back then. That's basically all we got for Wolverine in this issue. I like the setup here. I'm not a fan of the art. I wish we had more Wolverine. It just kind of feels like if we're going to go a full issue with just Kitty Pryde doing all this stuff, we're probably going to be pulling the taffy through this whole 6-issue series.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I agree with the unfortunate lack of Wolverine in this. I mean, his name is in the title. We ought to be getting more Wolverine, and he's probably the selling point too, right? We're at a point now where Wolverine's starting to become the big property. Does Wolverine have his own series yet, or is that still to come? I mean, I know we had the mini-series, but...
I think that's after the... Yeah, it's after this, because his main series is 88.
88? Okay, all right. So we still get a little while for that, but I mean, he's getting more and more popular. I do like that this demonstrates just how powerful Kitty can be, right? She can sneak onto an airplane and escape, and no one can stop her. If she chose to, she could steal money from ATMs, and no one could stop her. I mean, it's a power that we don't think about being all that useful in a fight, but it's incredibly useful power that she has. And what really gets in her way is her own immaturity, right? She's a young woman trying to figure things out, and she's making dumb mistakes because, she's young, she's inexperienced. So I think that's good. Al Milgram's art, I don't really mind all that much, honestly. It's a little rough, it's a little gritty. Maybe not the best style for Kitty, but I'm looking forward to what Wolverine will look like in this art style. I think that has some potential. All right, Stojr, I do have a no prize for this one.
Oh, nice. Let's see it.
All right. The Customer Disservice Award goes to the Deerfield Bank and Trust. You'll note on the sign there that bank hours, well, they close at 3 p.m., all right? Bank hours already suck. So having your bank close at 3 p.m., who's going to work with this bank? How are you going to get there when you get off of work, assuming you have a traditional 9-to-5 job, right? And of course, this is a time before electronic banking, so having that bank open and available is even more important. That's how you cash your checks. So, yeah, seems like
I feel like that is what time banks closed back then, though.
Really?
I don't think banks were openly. I think you had to go at weird times or something. Maybe I'm misremembering it, but
I thought it was always 9 to 5.
I mean, work hours, but I didn't. Yeah, maybe I'm misremembering it, but I feel like things were never that accommodating to people who had real jobs back then. So
yeah, or even now in some ways, maybe a little bit better now. Okay, I'm getting bad warnings on the recording that things might start goofing up soon, so we're going to wrap this up. Once again, if you guys enjoyed our thoughts, I don't want to lose a second time recording this. If you've enjoyed our thoughts, follow us on YouTube. We're going to read, rate, and review a full big collected edition once a month, plus these daily one-shots. So thank you very much, guys, and we'll catch you next time.